Welcome to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. My name is Katie Dodd, and I'm a nutrition entrepreneur. I spent 7 years as a side hustler before diving into entrepreneurship full time. Before making the leap, I was bringing in 6 figures through my side hustle. If I can do it, you can too. This podcast is for dietitians, interns, and students who want to be inspired to start or perfect the side hustle of their dreams. Let's do this. Hello and welcome to the 265th episode of the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast, turning business benefits into family vacations. Now, today's episode is going to be a little bit different than our usual episodes, but I was actually talking to my business coach, Greg Todd, about some of the vacations I've been on with my kids this year and how I've been able to save money and do these vacations for crazy cheap. And Greg was saying, Katie, you have a lot of skills. You have a lot of skills that not everyone else has, and you should be sharing these skills with people. So I was like, yeah, I should. Let me do a podcast episode all about this. Now, of course, time went on. I got busy, forgot about it. But then 2 episodes, we had Megan on the podcast with the Nutrition Travel Exchange. If you haven't listened to that episode, it was episode 263, and it was wonderful. And in this episode, Megan was talking all about how, as dietitians, we can go on these amazing, all-inclusive tropical paradise vacations in exchange for just a couple hours a day, trading our time doing things that we love. And I just thought, man, this is such a cool program that she's created, because what it's doing is that allowing dietitians to do what they love and going on vacations that they might not otherwise afford. Now, I know that everyone listening is in a different situation. Some of you, money's fine. Some of you, you're living paycheck to paycheck. Money's tight, but you still want to go on vacations. You still want to have experiences with your family and make the most of this one life we get to live. So I think often of with a side hustle, sometimes you're working a regular job just to pay bills, make ends meet, but then you're working a side hustle because you're trying to make some extra money to maybe build that honey fund, maybe that vacation fund, so that way you can go on an incredible vacation, which is what I thought was so cool about the Nutrition Travel Exchange, is that instead of working a lot to save up money to go on a vacation, you can leverage your skill set as a dietitian and go on an all-inclusive vacation that covers your stay, that covers food, drinks. And again, if you haven't listened to the episode, go listen. It was 263. So when we did that episode, it just really got the wheels turning. And I thought back to what Greg said. I'm like, I need to record an episode and tell you guys about how I'm able to turn business benefits into family vacations. So this year, it is 2025 that I'm recording it. I have gone on 2 vacations with my kids individually. This is something I started when my kids were pretty young. When I was still working at the VA, I would take my kids like on an overnight vacation, just something with mom, just just me and them, just one-on-one, just special memories that we could have together. And way back when, what I was doing is I was actually driving to the coast. We were staying at like this really affordable campground, and like they'd call them like a hideaway hut right on the river, close to the ocean, and super affordable. Because I am cheap, my friends. If you didn't know that about me, I am cheap. I love a good deal. Business has made me more premium, but at my bones, I'm a cheap person. So we've been doing these, mom, son, mom, daughter vacations for a long time. And this year, I don't remember the exact dates. My brain is so fuzzy, trying to remember all the details. But I went on a vacation with my son, I believe, in January, and then a vacation with my daughter in, I believe, February. I feel like that's right. So I'm going to tell you about both of those vacations and how I was able to turn business benefits, leverage business to help me to save money on these trips. So let's talk about this trip I brought my son on. So I brought my son with me to Clearwater, Florida. If you've never been to Clearwater before, it is beautiful. White sandy beaches, palm trees, amazing restaurants right on the water, and it is just a glorious, wonderful place. It's pretty touristy, so it's a whole vibe, it's a whole feeling. And my son had never been to the coast in Florida. We went to Disney World once, but Orlando's a different experience than the coast, right? So I was able to bring him on this trip for very, very low cost. And let me kind of break it all down for you. So I mentioned my business coach, Greg Todd. He had done this challenge, several years back, where as an affiliate, meaning if I promote his programs, which I totally believe in his programs, I love his programs, I'm happy to promote his programs. And if you promoted his programs, you got entered into a challenge where the people who had the top three people who had the most people join his program, his free stuff he was doing, you could win a vacation, which included business coaching from him. It included free food and a free stay. So I won a free mastermind and I brought Gavin with me. Now, I'd actually won another one before and I brought Gavin with me to Florida. So everything I'm saying with, I'm sorry, to Georgia, everything that I'm saying with Florida, I actually did a couple years prior. So let me set this up to say that I ended up winning a free trip. So I didn't have to pay for the Airbnb we stayed in, and I didn't have to pay for the meals that we ate during the days of that mastermind. So I did have to pay for my flight, but because I was going there for business, that flight was a tax deduction. It decreased the taxable income on my business. So when we flew to Florida, the only thing I had to pay for was the price of Gavin's ticket. So one ticket for him, but then my ticket was covered by my business. The room was free, the food was provided, and then I did rent a car. But that car was a tax deduction because I would have got the car anyways, even if he wasn't there. It was really part of business. But also, after the day was done, we were able to drive that car down to the beach to go get gelato, to go do all kinds of fun things together. So we did get to Florida a day early, and we stayed in my business coach's Airbnb, and it wasn't available the night we got in. So what I did was I used points that I had from um, I'm going to kind of break down a few things, but pretty much points for hotels that I had. So as a business owner, when I travel and stay in hotels, I tend to stay in the same hotels to get points, which allow me free stays later. So when we first flew into Tampa, Florida, which is where you fly in primarily if you're going to Clearwater, we stayed at a hotel really close to the airport completely for free. And they had free breakfast because that's the kind of hotels I prefer to stay in. And then after that day, we were in the car rental and we were able to go to the free place. So we had so much fun on that trip. I mean, Gavin, he's so content. He just loves hanging out, being around people, observing. In addition to, while I was in the mastermind part of the day, he was playing his Xbox. He brought it with him, so he was playing games. He was hanging out. He was eating with us. But we also went out on the boat with my business coach. We went and played Top Golf. Gavin and I went to the ocean every single day. We went shopping. We had gelato multiple times and we just had a blast. So it really was an incredible vacation. And the only price that I had to pay was the cost of Gavin's flight and a little bit of food and fun stuff we did. Actually, fun side note, we went to, oh gosh, I think was it Macy's? No, there's a store in Macy's that sell Sephora. We went to Sephora, and because again, I'm a big fan of leveraging points to get stuff for free. So Gavin wanted cologne, and I had enough points in my Sephora account that I actually got the cologne for free. So, so, so I had some expenses, but it was relatively cheap. So, kind of high level, what I'm trying to share here is that as a business owner, I leverage things like business credit cards, um, airlines, and hotel points. I tend to use the same airline almost every time if I can. I tend to use the same hotels every time if I can. And I use business credit cards. And when I get those points, I use those benefits for things like family vacations. So that was the trip I went on with my son. It was technically a business mastermind that I won, but one of the cool things about if you're going on a business trip and you bring your family, gosh, you already have covered the cost of your car rental, of your flight, of your, hotel. And, if you bring your family along, of course, you can't deduct like their expenses for like travel and whatnot, but the hotel's already covered, the car's already covered. And I do want to emphasize whenever I give advice like this, I am not an accountant. I'm not an attorney, so always consult with your own individual accountant. But this is just the example of how I was able to bring my son on a trip and how I leverage things that I'm utilizing for business. And just being a business owner alone, having tax deductions really opens a lot of doors for these opportunities. So let's talk about my daughter's trip because I was not on a work trip for my daughter. So my daughter and I went to Vegas a couple years ago. We saw Katy Perry. She had the time of her life. We stayed at the hotel Circus Circus and had a blast. So, I was going on this trip with Gavin, and Emily's like, okay, what's my trip? I'm like, okay, let's go to Vegas. I planned this trip very quickly, but I want to share how I was able to save a ton of money on this trip, leveraging business benefits and some other ways that I like to save money. So, when we went to Vegas, she really wanted to stay in Circus Circus. Circus Circus, if you're not familiar, it's some people diss it because it's like a really cheapy hotel. But if you go into Circus Circus with low standards, understanding you are paying next to nothing to go there and don't expect the Ritz Carlton for, Circus prices, you'll have a blast. You'll have fun. Emily thinks it's the nicest hotel that exists on the face of the planet. Okay. So Circus Circus it's just old. It's just old. The staff are nice. The rooms are clean. I'm sure there's exceptions to everything, maybe a room that didn't get cleaned well enough or one that, the paper wallpaper's peeling off. But honestly, I stay at Circus Circus and I really enjoy it. So staying at Circus Circus is really cheap. I mean, rooms are anywhere from 25 to 35 bucks a night. Now, there are resort fees, which makes the price like twice as much, but still for staying in a hotel, that is very, very cheap. So we stayed in Circus Circus for 2 or 3 nights, and then we went and stayed at another hotel down the strip. And it wasn't a main hotel. It was kind of across from MGM, just like in a block. And it was a hotel that we were able to stay at 2 nights completely for free. Because, like when I was with Gavin and we stayed at that hotel outside of the Tampa airport, this was a hotel that I got for free from points that I earned for staying in hotels as business expenses for other trips. So 2 nights were completely free, 3 nights were discounted. And there were other ways that I saved money on this trip because I feel like Vegas used to be cheap. I mean, I don't drink, I don't gamble, and obviously I'm there with my daughter, but still, things have gotten expensive in Vegas. So, one of the ways that I save money, I live in Oregon, and when I recycle my cans or my bottles, I get 10 cents back. So we have these like green bags that I put all my bottles and my cans in. I bring them to the recycle center, and then I have my account and I earn money for, returning and recycling these cans. So when I do that, we have certain local grocery stores that allow you to redeem those points at a 25% discount, meaning I have cash and cans. At this point, I've got $100 in my account, but I can go to this local grocery store and get 25% off my groceries when I use this money. So I actually use can money at the discount at a grocery store. And Emily and we went and bought cereal. We bought milk, like that pre-sealed milk that doesn't need to be refrigerated. We bought bowls and we bought spoons, and pretty much breakfast was covered for every day. And sometimes we would just have cereal for a snack because, it was just fun. To go back to the room and have some cereal, which I'm glad that I can make cheap things fun for my daughter. So we were able to save money that way. I also am very stealthy at finding low cost and cheap things no matter where I am. I was able to find all the cheap food in Vegas. So, for example, in Circus Circus, they have a food court, but they have kind of across from the food court, tucked behind some like casino gambling machines, they have this little cafe. I think it's like open 24/7, and they have these specials for $7.77. So for less than $8, you can get a meal. And they had some fun ones. Like our favorite was it was a bowl of tomato soup, a grilled cheese sandwich, and a pickle spear, and then we get water. And so I was able to find like where are cheap places to go. We brought, breakfast for every day by leveraging my can points. And the piece I forgot to mention is that flights were completely free to get there because I fly through United. I have so many points for from traveling as much as I do that I was able to get our tickets free to Vegas. Now, where we lived, we did have to do 2 flights to get to Vegas. I really don't live that far from Vegas, but it was what it was. But another cool perk that I have is that because I travel as much as I do pay for a United Club credit card through my business. So I forget the fee. It's like it's a good chunk of money for this fee, but it's worth it for how much I travel. But what this business credit card allows me to do is get access to the United Lounge. If you're not familiar with the United Lounge, it's nice. They have like nice seating, comfortable seating, like power chargers everywhere, free food, nice bathrooms. They have drinks. Like, I love the United Lounge. And so when we flew there, we flew through San Francisco and had a layover. And then when we flew home, we flew through Denver, and I'll tell you about a little adventure there. But what we were able to do is because I had the United Club card, we were able to go there and get free food. So in San Francisco, We went and got lunch on our layover completely for free because of a business perk. So we got food and Emily loved it. She felt so high class being in the United Lounge, getting all this food. She just loved it. And there was this machine that makes like lattes, and she would just get steamed milk, and she thought she was super fancy. So when we actually went home, Vegas has a United Lounge. So we got to the airport early, went to the United Lounge, had free food. Went to Denver and had free dinner. Something interesting happened in Denver, and our flight ended up getting canceled going home. There was a huge snowstorm, like the biggest snowstorm of the year, and our airport closed. So we were stuck in Denver. But because I fly so much through United, I'm part of like their premier program. Sometimes United does give you like if the flight's canceled, they'll give you like a free room, but not always. But because I fly so much with them and have this premium status, we were actually able to get a hotel room for the night in Denver. And, I will say a part of me was annoyed, but the other part of me is like, I'm an entrepreneur. I have a flexible schedule. We can do this. We're going to make this fun. So we played it as we got a whole extra vacation for free. And so Emily helped me pick up the choices we had, what hotel to stay in. And we went there because my daughter's adorable. The staff actually upgraded us to a 2-bedroom suite. So we were in this 2-bedroom suite at this hotel that provided breakfast, that had an indoor swimming pool and a hot tub, and we just had a whole extra day of vacation. Then we went back to the airport the next day. Our flight wasn't till later in the day, but we got there early enough and we were able to get lunch and dinner in the United Lounge, and we just had a good old time. And now my daughter talks about the time we had a vacation in Denver and it was just a free layover. Anyways, that is the ways that I saved money on my trip with my daughter. Flights were free. Half of the hotel rooms were free. The other hotel we stayed at was very cheap. We had a lot of cheap food. We leveraged recycling cans and using discounts to get free breakfast. And then we also got free meals at the United Club. So anyways, I hope sharing those kind of examples and stories gets your brains turning, like the wheels turning about like what are ways that I could leverage ben- benefits of my business to, be able to go on vacations with my family. Whether or not it is bringing your family with you on a work trip and, really enjoying those mornings and evenings with them, and, pretty much having the cost of the hotel, the rental car, and your flight covered through business expenses, or leveraging things like points for when you stay at hotels, or points for when you fly, or points for business credit cards, and funneling those into fun things that you can do with your family. Now, I know that FNCE is coming up, the Food and Nutrition Conference and Expo. I will not be there. I will not be there. I've met so many of you in real life, but I actually am not going to be there this year. I'm going to be at a painting retreat with my mom in Vermont. But I'm going to miss you guys like crazy. But I know a lot of you go to FNCE. So if you're going to FNCE and you're staying in a hotel, make sure you sign up for their program where you get points. By golly, the cost is so darn expensive that you are probably going to get enough for a free night that you can go somewhere with your family. When you fly, make sure that you're signed up with the program of whoever you're flying through. A lot of these airline companies have credit cards that you can get where oftentimes there's fees, but if you are a business owner, you can deduct the fees if you're using it primarily for business. So like, okay, I'm flying to FNCE, gonna buy a flight. I could get a business credit card connected to the airlines and get even more points and use those points later to go on family vacations. And so anyways, I hope the wheels are turning, you guys, on ways that even if you feel like, oh, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I don't have a ton of money, but I want to create these amazing special memories with my family, there are lots of ways to do it. So anyways, that's what I wanted to share with you today. And I hope that was helpful. And again, think of things like the Nutrition Travel Exchange and leveraging different benefits with business to allow you to make special memories with your family. I am very grateful that I'm able to do this with my son and my daughter. The other thing I didn't even mention, our last episode was all about passive income in paradise. And I ended up draining the rest of my United bonus points. I fly a lot, you guys, and I live in Oregon. I go to Florida a lot, so I get lots of points. And so, and I also have the United credit card, which gives me more points. So my family and I went to Maui, I used the remaining balance of my United points to get discounts on our tickets. So they weren't free, but they were certainly discounted. So I used it for me, my son, my daughter, my mom, and my dad, and we all got discounted tickets. And I love United because it includes, like, we get to pick our seats, we get a checked bag at no additional cost, and also because of my premium status, I'm able to upgrade for 2 people. So I guess that's what I got for you. A little different episode. Hope it was helpful. Um, Thanks for listening to the Dietitian Side Hustle podcast. Be sure to visit katiedodd.com to learn about all the different ways that we could work together. And I'll see you all next week on the podcast. Bye, guys.